job, man. What's happening? Hey, man. We on the way, man. They can't stop guys playing, bro. We're going for the appeal. You hear me?
Do you want to make money or be known for violence? Well, Bankroll Freddy found out the hard way last week that if you want to be known for violence, you're going to end up with a lot more time than if you're just trying to get money. He was sentenced to 12 and a half years. There was 2 different indictments that went on down there in that Pine Bluff area. EBK, which was Bankroll Freddy's crew, and Looney murder mob.
3 federal investigations that were focused on the drug and firearm pipeline in Arkansas have resulted in 80 indictments and 45 arrests. According to the indictment, Freddie Gladney III and 34 other individuals distributed. Those gangs were Everybody Killas, or the EBK, and the Looney murder mob gang.
Bankroll Freddy, you can see here, was pulled over on the highway in 2021. And he had 21 bowls, 30,000 in cash, and 2 ghost bangers.
Huh? You don't have bonus?
No, I dropped them when they grabbed me.
And I don't know if he was clearing out his stash spot or what.
Is there any compartments in the car?
What?
Any compartments in the car?
No.
Is that all you got in the car?
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Yeah.
Nothing here?
No. Can I make a phone call?
Not right now. Hold tight, all right?
I think what really got them on the radar and the feds wanting to slam them was that when a Pine Bluff, Arkansas officer was serving a warrant on a motel in Pine Bluff, one of the EBK guys blew him down.
After nearly 3 years of waiting, the trial of the man accused of shooting and killing Detective Kevin Collins has come to an end. After a 4-day trial and a full day of deliberations, the jury returned a verdict. THV 11's Rebecca Brown has been following this trial from the beginning and joins us live with all the details now. Rebecca?
Yeah, Faith, it has been an emotional week here for everyone involved at the Jefferson County Courthouse. But after reviewing all the evidence and hearing all the witness testimonies, the jury unanimously decided that Keyshawn Smith was guilty of first-degree murder. Now, just taking you back from the beginning, Detective Kevin Collins was murdered on October 5th, 2020, after attempting to arrest Keyshawn Smith at the Econo Lodge in Pine Bluff. The prosecutors originally at the beginning of the trial sought out for capital murder along with 2 counts of first-degree battery when first accusing Keyshawn Smith of shooting and killing Detective Kevin Collins. But the jury decided that the prosecutors did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Keyshawn Smith premeditated killing and shooting Detective Collins. But in today's verdict, the jury found Keyshawn Smith guilty in first-degree murder as well as firearm enhancement, adding more to his sentence.
Now, I don't know what Bankroll Freddy was thinking about when he didn't take a plea. There was a total of 80 defendants indicted between the Looney mob and the EBK, or 70 defendants. And on his side, on the EBK, it included his own father. And everybody took a plea but him. And again, you can see from the footage, he was caught red-handed. I assume that he was trying to get the evidence thrown out on illegal search and seizure, but it didn't work. And it's always risky to go to trial. Now, why did he get so much time? Well, here's a lesson for you guys. He got some enhancements for A, being the leader of a group that had multiple members, so he was overseeing people selling stuff. Unfortunately, the amounts they were selling weren't really very much. He was overheard on a wiretap complaining about somebody owing him money for 11 grams of crack. His father was charging people $100 to cook up, but under the federal guidelines, I mean, even a little bit of involvement to get you in trouble. An investigation revealed on April 14th, 2022, Arkansas State Police observed his truck speeding. They pulled him over. They, of course, said they detected an odor of reefer, like they always say. They removed him from the car. During a search, they found a Mini Draco and a Polymer 80 P90. And that was what's known as a ghost gun. Somebody printed it out. And additionally, during a search of the back seat, they pulled out a duffel bag with 21 pounds of high-grade reefers, $33,000 in cash, and he had a bunch of loaded magazines. Then he gets on the phone in jail and he says to a co-defendant, "What did you get out of the house in Helena?" "I got everything out of there." "Scales and everything?" "No, I gotta, let me call them, send me back to get that." "Scales, get everything out of the house, guns, everything." "Where's the Mac 90 at?" "It's not there." "All right, get everything out of the house before they go search that bitch." So right there he got himself more months added because that's impeding an investigation. October 2019, suburban Atlanta, Cobb County to be exact, a Comfort Inn, the parking lot, and we all know it goes down at the Comfort Inn. Two black males pull into one slot, another black male pulls in another. They converse. First two black males slither into the hotel through a back door, and the first guy, when he was by himself, he walks in right past the front desk. They wave him in, and he says he needs to look around, and they let him do so. Now, what's the difference with him? Well, he's an Atlanta cop. He's dressed in his policeman's outfit. He's got his bulletproof vest on. So he goes up to the fourth floor, and he's walking around. This is all on surveillance. He's scoping, seeing who's there. He knocks on a door.
He said, "I'm here for suspicious activity going on up here." So I said, "What you mean?" We headed out. We're packing our bags. Suspicious activity, just me and him. My cousin comes to the door. "Hey, this is my room. What's going on?"
Bankroll Freddy, Arkansas rapper, and his cousin are in the room. But of course, there's been no disturbance. And when they finally open the door for the cop, he jets off. And the two guys who snuck in, they pull firearms. They put him to Bankroll and his cousin. Bankroll gets off down.
Guy come from inside. You already know what time it is.
Freddie Bankroll escaped without injury, but his cousin was pistol whipped multiple times.
Now all they get is an iPhone and $800 in cash.
The rapper and his cousin were preparing to check out of the Cobb County motel near the Battery when the armed robbery went down.
So what was this all about? Well, let's go back. Bankroll Freddy had just gotten signed earlier in 2019 to Quality Control. People think that's a record label. It's a management deal. Bankroll Freddy got his record deal with Motown Records. He had a song, Check the Drip. Saved by the Bales was his mixtape that came out in 2019, put him on the map. He's one of them guys, they say last of the trap rappers, whatever that means, but in not long after, well, a year or so after the robbery, a little more than a year.
7-year-old Bankroll Freddy, or Freddie Gladney, was arrested during a traffic stop Thursday in Marion. During a search of his truck, police found a gun, 21 pounds of marijuana, and 171 grams of prescription sedative. Freddie was booked into the Crittenden County Detention Center on state drug and weapons charges and held for FBI on equivalent federal charges.
Bankroll Freddy is part of EBK, Lottie Murder Boys, I guess is who they beef with. There was a lot of violence. Pine Bluff and Arkansas areas. Pine Bluff and Arkansas and Little Rock are actually quite violent cities.
Little Rock staring down one of the city's deadliest years in nearly 3 decades.
Sunday's homicide tied the record for the number of homicides in a single year.
Bankroll Freddy's from a place called West Helena, which I actually have a bunch of footage of. And if I go into his story more in a part 2, I'll flex some of it, or show you what West Helena looks like. The reason I have footage of it is the Chambers brothers. There was an episode of American Gangster season 1 on BET about they were the first crack kingpins to make the national news. They were the brothers from Detroit. They had the infamous videotape, "Money, money, money, I'm rich, goddammit. Should we give all the $1 bills away?" that you've seen over and over. Well, they're originally from Marietta, Arkansas, West Helena.
Money, money, money!
The profits were staggering, up to $1 million a week. Authorities say the Chambers brothers who made this home video didn't even bother to count the $1 bills because it took too long.
Should we throw these ones away, man, since we got $500,000?
Well, I tell you what we can do. We can give it to the poor.
That's exactly what I say, too. We'll just donate those to the poor.
And I went down and saw Billy Joe down there. He did about 27 years in prison. I interviewed him in Detroit and down there. Still haven't used all the footage. West Helena was interesting. It was like 3 square blocks of the east side of Detroit. plopped down in the middle of the countryside in Arkansas. And so Freddy, why Bankroll was in Atlanta with his cousin, what they were doing, cop, and two guys coming to rob him. It wasn't for no iPhone. How did they know what room he was in? Remember, they knocked on the door. They didn't randomly see him. Had to have thought he had something, but Bankroll ran out of the room. He ran away from the room, and they pistol whipped the cousin. The police, the real police came. They made a report, and that cop ended up getting arrested.
He said, I'm hearing some suspicious activity going on up here. So I said, what you mean? We headed out. We're packing our bags. Suspicious activity, just me and him. My cousin comes to the door. Hey, this is my room. What's going on?
But he actually wasn't really a cop anymore at that point. He had not been a cop for about 2 weeks. He had just quit, while he had been forced to quit after an internal affairs investigation by the Atlanta PD, because he offered to remove a guy's felony warrant in exchange for payment, and somehow he got caught. And it was internal Atlanta PD people who called the news so this reporter could get this story.
He looked like he was on official police business, but tonight disgraced ex-Atlanta police officer Justin Thorne is preparing to serve a 10-year prison sentence after he pled guilty earlier this month for his role in the 2019 armed robbery of Freddie Gladney III, who's better known by his stage name Bankroll Freddy.
So the cop's name was Justin Thorne. He was only maybe 23 when this happened. He had joined the force when he was 21. So he didn't last long. I wonder if he joined the force with bad intentions, or he got mixed up with somebody and his life spun out of control. Now, during his initial bond hearing after he got charged, I guess he was identified from the camera surveillance footage. Not a smart guy. He had kept his police uniform and his bulletproof vest so he could, get Bankroll to come to the door. I wonder if those guys had done other robberies. There was no other charges, and I'm just imagining things, but I imagine a scenario where Bankroll was up in Atlanta, maybe getting right. Somebody told them, or the robbers, and they had their hooks in this cop. And the reason why I say their hooks in this cop, he said at his bond hearing he only got involved with this because someone threatened his family. What the hell does that mean? Did he owe somebody some money and they were using him? Did he just get out of control, turned out? Cops don't make that much money, but if you're in that, it's probably weird being a young cop, especially too, where you're kind of the same demographic as a lot of the criminals and the drug dealers, tempted to get mixed up and stuff, but if you're not smart, it's a tricky game, and he wasn't smart enough to play it. He didn't tell. He had to have known who those two guys who he helped rob Bankroll and his cousin. He had to know who they were, but he didn't give them up. Was he scared of them? Who were these guys? It'd be interesting to know. So, just in May of this year, Justin Thorne pled guilty. He got 10 years in prison. I don't know what the parolable time there is down in Georgia, a third, a half. I don't know if he was out on bond. If he was in jail for most of the last 4 years, I mean, he might be getting out in a couple more years. Probably is, either way. I mean, Bankroll Freddy will probably be in, or could well be in, when this guy gets out, which would be ironic, because back in November of 2022, remember in spring of 2022, he got caught with the 21 Bulls, but in November 2022, Freddie Gladney III, a.k.a. Bankroll Freddy, along with his father, Freddie Gladney Jr., and 43 others, hit with a massive indictment.
The U.S. Attorney's Office announcing a massive number of federal drug and firearm arrests in both Little Rock and Pine Bluff.
It was a massive bust that was led by a massive team of investigators. More than a dozen federal, state, and local agencies are part of these ongoing operations working to address the pipeline of crime from Pine Bluff to Little Rock.
Last night was a restless night for hundreds of law enforcement officers that supported this multi-state, multi-jurisdictional operation.
45 arrests made Wednesday morning and 80 people indicted on federal firearm and drug trafficking charges. The U.S. Attorney's Office calling it a monumental takedown.
The most violent offenders, the most violent groups, in the most violent places.
Rapper Bankroll Freddy was one of those arrested today on drug trafficking and firearm charges. An indictment show he was part of one of the gang investigations by the FBI. He and many others arrested today are being held at the Pulaski County Detention Center waiting to appear in court. The U.S. Attorney's Office says there are still 27 fugitives who have not been arrested yet.
Conspiracy to possess and distribute cocaine, crack cocaine, fentanyl, marijuana, a bunch of guns. I think his sister was on a wiretap call with his father, like it was a family affair, alleged. A lot of serious charges. I'm not sure if he's out on bond. I don't think he is, to be honest. As of December of 2022, they were keeping him in. I'm not sure. Doesn't look good for him. Sounds like he was targeted by a robbery crew that had access to a cop in Atlanta, but they didn't get nothing that time. So it's a dirty game out in these streets. Those of you that think you want to play, you don't know who's looking at you, who's targeting you, and a lot of times it might not be the people you know. Somebody could be watching them, and if you didn't grow up like that, you don't know that. But you could be going over to see somebody and they're fine. Somebody at the end of their block watches them. Now you're a new person in a nice car and they own you. Your person don't know nothing about it. So I don't know what happened with this, but Bankroll Freddy's EBK squad was hot, really hot, because there was already investigation into them. And in 2020 in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, at a motel, there was a black detective named, I think, Kevin Collins, serving a warrant on an EBK member.
We've learned that Keyshawn Smith has been arrested and charged with capital murder in connection to the shooting. He, Kevin, will have a probable cause hearing tomorrow morning at 9 on Zoom.
Collins was shot and killed during a shootout between Pine Bluff police and two suspects on Monday.
I was just shocked. Like, I wasn't really feeling anything else other than that, you know, because like I said, it was just a crazy sight to see.
Gunned down the cop. So feds are on them. They're not taking them lightly, especially you're down in a, not a rural area, but Little Rock is, and Pine Bluff are medium to small cities. So, you know, they were making the crowd move, as Courtney Brown Jr. likes to say down there. They were rocking.
Gotta come from the side. You already know what time it is.
Freddie Bankroll escaped without injury, but his cousin was pistol whipped multiple times. In a previous bond hearing, Justin Thorne's attorney, Lenny Franco, told the judge that his client got involved because he and his family had been threatened. It's unclear who the threat came from, but a Channel 2 Action News investigation discovered about 2 weeks before the armed robbery, Thorne resigned from APD amid an internal affairs investigation into reports that he offered to take a payment from a suspect with an outstanding warrant in exchange for making the warrant go away.
Justin Thorne, dirty APD cop, pled guilty. He has 10 years. He didn't give up the ghost of who his partners were. He said he had been threatened. Bankroll Freddy and his cousin did make statements to the police, but of course you have to because it all happened on the camera. As soon as you start your crew, you start calling yourself a gang, right there, now you're subjecting yourself to more enhancements. And he didn't want to plead out, and when you don't accept responsibility, aka you take it to trial, then you don't get more points for taking it to trial, but they don't remove points for you. So anytime you plead guilty, they're gonna reduce what you were looking at. So if you don't plead guilty, then the initial statutes standing off, and those are pretty heavy. And again, he got time added for being over other people and making a phone call telling them to get rid of scales and guns. Now, why was he driving around with 2 heaters and all that, those pounds? Maybe he thought that his stash was about to get hit and he was moving it all at once. Again, hard to imagine with this type of footage why he wouldn't have taken a plea deal. And let this be a lesson to anyone if you're out there trapping. I mean, a lot of people moved 21 bulls around every day and it never got caught. I heard about many people that during the last 10-year reefer run sold a lot and made a lot of money, never had any police contact or very minimal. But the EBK Looney mob violence that was going back and forth there in Pine Bluff brought heat. And of course, Bankroll Freddy, being the famous guy in the situation, they called him the leader and that enhanced his time and got him up to 12.5 years. If he would have gotten caught with the 20 bowls, and there was no homicide of a cop, there was no guns that he had with him, he wasn't a part of EBK, there was no gang war he was a part of, he might have got probation or 2 years or something. That's probably what he would have got, because as it stood, he was sentenced to 5 years for the Mary Jane, but that includes the enhancements. So again, he probably would only got a couple years for that. But because of all the other stuff, the violence that was around it, chiefly that cop getting gunned down, which didn't have anything to do with him, but it was those guys who were supposedly in EBK, so you can imagine the federal prosecutors weren't playing around with him. So 12.5 years for Bankroll Freddy. Now, so Bankroll Freddy didn't seem like he knew what he was doing too much when he was out on the street, and he didn't play his legal case too well, and he ended up with 12.5 years. So if you're out here trying to get some money, get some money. And be careful about going to different cities that you're not from. You better be sure of where you're at and who you're with. Staying in cheap motels doesn't end up well. And so hopefully Bankroll Freddy can get a little bit of his time knocked down. Al Prophet, American Dope.
Yeah, man, what's happening? Hey, man, we on the way, man. They can't stop guys playing, bro. We're going for the appeal. You hear me?